Today I'm testing out all of the powerlifting bleach lighteners that Bassett Salon Solutions carries so you don't have to, and I'm talking Oligo, Davines, GK Hair, Evo, and Alter Ego, and we're gonna test them out on these level 2 swatches, and we're gonna find out which one's the best and see how they size up on the Manelli scale. And if you're new here, my name's Mirella Manelli. I'm a hair educator who loves helping hairstylists simplify their skills in business, and please give this video a like, subscribe, share this video with a friend so we can get it to the right people. Now let's go ahead and get started. Now you're probably here because you've seen my other bleach lightener testing videos where I've tested countless lighteners from Cosmoprof, Salon Centric, Swice, even Sally's Beauty, but if you haven't, make sure you check out that bleach lightener series down below in the description. Now, this collection comes highly requested by many of you, so if there's a bleach lightener that I have not tested, please make sure you drop it down below in the comments. Now, let's go ahead and test out the very first lightener. So first up is the Oligo Black Light Extra Blonde that retails for $37.56 for a 2-pound baggie. Now, this lightener can give you up to 9 levels of lift, and it's dust-free. Some key features and benefits, though, about this lightener is that it can be used on and off scalp for precise and predictable results every time. The Blacklight Extra Blonde is formulated with positively charged compound that forms an iconic bond during the lightening process. And this bond protects and smooths the hair cuticle, guarding them from over porosity and ensures even color results while making the hair soft, shiny, and static free. Now, in all fairness, I have used this lightener before and it is pretty powerful and I did love the results, but I'm really excited today to test it on the level 2 swatch and size it up on the Manelli scale. However, it has been about 2, maybe 3 years since I've actually used this lightener, and this came so highly requested by so many of my YouTube subscribers and viewers. So let's go ahead and open this one up. So already I really like the packaging just because I do like a bag. I like the option of having to, dump it into a container if I want to, or just keep it in this bag. And it's not like your usual bag. It has kind of like a Velcro closure to it, which is nice. Now this does claim to be dust free, but I'm already starting to see a little dusty dust action going on here. Oh, it is a white powder. I thought this was like a violet lightener. Maybe I'm confusing it with another one. Now what we find inside is a scooper, so yay for the scooper. You know how I feel about that. I want to see if there's any directions or anything in here. Probably not, because it looks like the directions are on the back, which is kind of nice. So I don't have to like sift through anything. All right, so let's go ahead and do the dust test. I'm gonna go with like middle of the road with this one. It's kind of like this lightener feels a little clumpy. So very middle of the road with the dust factor. It's definitely not 100% dust free, but it's definitely on like the low factor. All right, so let's go ahead and mix this up. So the way you mix this up is at a 1-to-1 mixing ratio for off scalp. Now, if you are gonna do on scalp, you would do 1-to-2 mixing ratio. For this test, we're gonna do 1-to-2 because we're gonna keep it really fair because that's what we've been doing across the board with all of these videos. So just know that if you are doing a 1-to-1 mixing ratio, it is gonna make it slightly stronger. Now, I do have a video on comparing a 1-to-1 to 1-to-1.5 and 1-to-2. So definitely go check that one out. I'll put the link to that video down below as well. So what we got here so far is 14 grams of a lightener. Let's go ahead and kind of feel this one out. It's definitely kind of airy, but it also kind of clumps together a little bit, providing that there's really not a lot of dust factor. Again, that's a huge bonus for me. I don't really like the puffy puff cloud action kind of going on. So I'm going to be using the dedicated 20 volume developer. And again, we're going to keep that nice and even across the board. So we're going to do this at a 1-to-2. And this is a really nice, creamy, thick developer, which I really like. So the highest level of developer that you can use with this lightener is 30 volume. They don't recommend anything higher than that. However, if you're going to be doing on the scalp, they just recommend the 1-to-2 with the highest of 20 volume developer. So let's go ahead and mix this up. Now, so far I don't really have like a fragrance that I'm kind of smelling, which again is really nice. But sometimes things get activated as you mix them up. And this is feeling really nice, actually. This is feeling really kind of creamy and rich. Again, I think the developers make such a huge difference. So when they have like a really thick consistency, it just calls for a thicker viscosity, which is so nice. And I just really like the creaminess of how it will like glide onto the hair. I really do gauge a good lightener based on the developer. So this is nice and thick so far. And I am getting a little bit of a fragrance here. Just like a light, soft bleach smell for the most part. All right, so let's go ahead and do the brush test. So now I like doing this brush test because this tells me all about the precision. This is letting me know if I am able to scoop it up and I'm able to grab exactly what I need. And this also tells me the viscosity, if I'm really liking it. And this is just not moving. So this is amazingly perfect. So far, I really love this. Let's go ahead and get this on the swatch. And so far, this feels like really nice and creamy. It feels like exactly how I kind of remember it. It goes through the hair really well. And as a matter of fact, this is a very popular lightener amongst a lot of hairstylists, especially those who lighten really dark hair. Now they do have other bleach lighteners that are more like cream based. That's really, really popular. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you can like even intermix them, which is kind of cool. Again, I'd have to like revisit those bleach lighteners again. It's just been a while since I've tried them. And I can't quite remember why I stopped using it. It might have been like the price point. I'm not quite sure, or I don't know. I just have been testing so many different lighteners at this point that it's just been kind of fun actually trying them all out on real people, because a swatch is going to give us kind of like that baseline of what it can actually do, but trying it on a human is just like a whole new level of actually testing the bleaches. The cool part about doing a swatch though is that we have more of a controlled setting and we can really push the swatch as far as we can just to see integrity as well as the swell factor and just so many other amazing things. So I really do love doing a swatch test. Okay, call me crazy, but I'm already seeing a little bit of lift action. Now I do really like that this lightener is white and it's going to give me up to 9 levels of lift. So for that, it's another kind of like plus for me, but time will tell exactly how well this swatch actually lifts. Now this lightener does not say to use heat or no heat, but I process all of my bleach lighteners without any heat, and that's exactly what we're gonna do today for this test so we can maintain the integrity of the Manelli scale, and we're gonna let this process for 60 minutes. Now that it's been 60 minutes, let's go ahead and take a peeky peek, but first let's see what's going on with this foil. Not a whole lot of action so far. This doesn't really feel really swelly, but let's go ahead and check out what's going on in this bowl. Honestly, not the swell factor for this is so minimal. This is probably one of the least amount of swelly bowls and foils I've ever felt, to be completely honest. I'm kind of shocked. I felt because this was going to be a really strong lightener, or it claimed to be, that I was going to have a lot of swell action going on. But let's go ahead and take a little peek of what's inside. This is looking really nice. I really like this. I love that it's white because I'm not getting that trick in my eye kind of thing happening. Just looking at this, I am seeing a lot of yellow tones. So ideally, I would probably like maybe reapply if I was really trying to like push through as light as possible. I'm kind of thinking this is giving us like an 8, maybe a 9. I don't know. But this feels really nice. I think the biggest thing for me with this is that there really isn't a whole lot of swell factor going on, but let's go ahead and wash this one off. Now that this is all washed out, I'm really loving this lift. I think this feels really nice. It's not the softest hair strand I've ever felt, but it's also not the most brittle. I feel like it's kind of middle of the road for me, but so far from what I see, this looks like a really great lift. So let's go ahead and size it up next to the level finder. Looking at this level finder, I know this is definitely not a 7. This is giving me level 8, which is the golden zone. However, I do see some like lighter pieces throughout. So I'm going to give this an 8.5 on the level finder. I just feel like it gave us a little bit more than a solid level 8. I'm really impressed with how much lift we got, because a level 8 is like the golden zone where we can definitely neutralize and also enhance that warmth. And the fact that it just gave us a little bit more oomph is just a huge plus for me. And then when you compare it to this level 2 swatch, you can really see how much lift we got out of this. This is insane, going from a level 2 to this in a short amount of time. Plus, again, the integrity is kind of middle of the road for me. So it's not the softest, it's not the most brittle. Now, based on my experience and the results that we got today, this lightener seems like a great lightener for anybody with really dark hair. So if you're trying to go from a level 2 to really light blonde in one session, I think this is a great option for you. Some of the things that I personally like about this lightener as far as a professional perspective is the viscosity. I love the timing, and I really do like the versatility of this lightener. I honestly don't know why I stopped using Oligo a long time ago, but this is definitely something I want to play with a little bit more and kind of add it back to my arsenal. So let's go ahead and check out the next one. Next up is Davines Century of Light that retails for $35.20 for a 28.22 ounce container. Now this is a multi-purpose bleach lightener that's great for on and off scalp. However, it did say to use a special oil when you're doing on scalp application. And it's going to give you up to 9 levels of lift. Now, some key features and benefits is that this is a lilac-based multi-purpose bleaching powder with hair protection booster. It's great for partial or total bleaching for both on and off scalp. It's odorless and it has a creamy texture. All right, so now let's go ahead and open this one up. Now, just to be completely honest, I have used this lightener before. It's been a really long time. This one also comes highly recommended by so many hairstylists. And if you've used Davines before, you probably love it. It is a fabulous hair color line. I don't know, it's just been such a while since I've used it, so I'm excited to give this a go again. So far, I really love the container. I like that it's like a little swivel, like actually closes. And there's a baggie inside. Now there are no instructions inside, and there's also really no instructions on the actual container itself. I mean, they're really tiny little words, but I would assume that because you are a pro hair artist, you would get a lot of your education from a hair educator or from any of their educational sources. So I do like that kind of exclusivity factor to it. It's just such a great, like, collection, really. Now, I really love bags too because I like the option of being able to put it in here or in another container. So let's go ahead and dump this in here. Now I am seeing a little bit of powder, dusty dust action kind of happening here. There's no scooper. You lost points, bro. Or actually, maybe not. I would expect a brand like Davines to not have a scooper because they are truly an eco-friendly brand and they do a lot of things to help reduce their carbon footprint on this planet. So for that, it actually has good points. So we're gonna go ahead and borrow Oligo scooper. So let's go ahead and do the dust test. Now, I did see a little bit of dust. However, it was out of the really big package, but this is pretty minimal. I'm actually kind of impressed. It's not 100% dust free, but it is pretty low on the dust factor. So let's go ahead and mix this one up. Now, the way you mix this up is you're going to mix it at a 1 to 1.5 mixing ratio and up to 1 to 2.5 mixing ratio, depending on the viscosity that you're trying to achieve. Now, you can mix this up with 5 volume developer all the way up to 40 volume developer. So just depending on the exact results you're trying to achieve. But for this test, we're going to be doing a 1 to 2 with 20 volume developer. Now, if you are going to be applying this on the scalp, they highly recommend that you mix it up with their tolerance lifting oil. This is going to provide you with a little bit of a barrier and that protection that you really need for any type of on-scalp bleach lightening. It's really important that you typically use something a little bit more hydrating, and it's basically going to take your powder bleach lightener into more of an oil-based bleach lightener. Now, the processing time for Davines is up to 40 minutes, so there is a very small window of opportunity for the lift. So let's go ahead and get this in the bowl and mix this up. So I'm going to be mixing this up into grams, and so far, like I mentioned, there's very little dust. This is probably one of the lowest on the dust factor for me. It's pretty nice, and there really is no odor. I don't smell anything. But we'll see when we mix it up if there is a little bit of odor. So I'm gonna get 15 grams in this bowl. Now, this is one thing that has not changed in Davines. I remember using Davines probably 20 years ago and their bottles literally look the same. So it's kind of nice that there's not too much change with the way that their packaging looks, because it can get kind of confusing when brands always want to rebrand. I just think Davines has done such an amazing job of keeping the integrity of what the brand is and was since forever ago. I totally forgot to feel the bleach here because it's been a minute, but this is very like fine sand, but kind of like clumping together, very much like the Oligo did, which is kind of cool. so it's not like flying all over the place. So let's go ahead and mix this up. Now again, the developer, really thick and creamy, which is something I really do love. And now I'm starting to get a little bit of an odor. It's not like your typical Bleach fragrance. I hate to say this, but kind of like plasticky, if you will. And I'm also getting kind of like a fibrous feel from this mix. Okay, now I'm starting to smell the bleach. This is where I'm starting to smell that. I think it's like the sodium persulfate is probably what the fragrance is when you like activate it with the developer, but the bleach itself is odorless. So when I say fibrous, and I really think you'll be able to see this on the overhead camera, but it's kind of like pulling itself together, almost if you would like imagine what like a taffy would do, like when you pull it apart, it just kind of stretches and it's trying its very best to stay together. So I don't know if that's like any type of bond technology or anything built inside of it, but let's go ahead and get this on the swatch. So let's go ahead and do the brush test so we can really see the precision. And this is a pretty thick viscosity. I mean, this is 1 to 2, so you have the option of doing the 1 to 1.5, which is a lesser mixing ratio with the developer, meaning it's probably going to be even thicker than this. I feel like 1 to 2 feels pretty good. I almost think that the 1 to 2.5 might be a really great option too, because this is just like not going anywhere. Let's go ahead and get this on the swatch. Now, honestly, this feels kind of thick. It doesn't feel like how I remember it, but again, I was kind of like a baby stylist when I first started using Davines. So this is a lightener that I would definitely say you have to take really tiny sections with, so that way you can get the best type of saturation and application, because it does feel like a little on the thick side. So I'm gonna have to make sure I do a really good job of opening up this swatch. Yeah, I really do feel like I gotta really like get in there for sure. So being that this is a pretty thick swatch, this is probably going to be a great lightener for dark hair, but again, really tiny pieces. However, I do think that this mixing ratio would make really great for like open hair air painting or any type of like foliage if you're trying to get like a really nice blend in a foil, because it is that thick. But I don't feel like it's too thick that I can't get it through. So it's just kind of like a thicker bleach lightener. All right, so now we wait. Now that it's been 40 minutes, let's go ahead and take a feel for this foil, and a little bit of swelling, not too much going on, which is kind of nice. And as far as the bowl's concerned, not really a lot either. It still kind of has a little bit of that fiber kind of thing going on a little bit, but it's not collapsing like a lot of the other bleaches where I've tested and they just like swell up and fall apart. It's actually holding up its integrity pretty good. So let's go ahead and take a little peek at what's inside of this foil. I'm actually really excited for this one. Okay, so this has been 40 minutes, so not very much time has gone by, and this is looking really good. Now, granted, there is a little bit of that lilac violet tone kind of happening, so it could be playing a trick on my eyes. So let's go ahead and wash this off. Now that I washed out Davines, my first impressions of this is that we got a really great lift. This looks amazing coming from a level 2, and overall integrity felt really nice as I was washing it out in the bowl. So now let's go ahead and size it up to the level finder. Now, just like I suspected, this is looking like a solid level 8. This is the golden zone for me. Now, I know a lot of the lighteners that I'm testing out today were giving me up to 9 levels of lift. Now, this did pretty well considering, again, we're using a level 2 swatch. We're cutting through a lot of those really orangey zones, and the fact that we're able to get to this orange gold zone is super phenomenal. Now, I was really hopeful that we were going to get at least a little close to a 9, but this is giving me a solid level 8. But nonetheless, comparing it to this level 2 swatch, this is still a really great lift. Level 8, we can enhance, we can neutralize, we have a lot of wiggle room with this. And the fact that we can always reapply as we're going through the lightening process to kind of push this lightener through a little bit more, I think this did pretty well. The thing that really stood out for me is when I was washing this out, it felt just really silky, like almost as if there was a lot of like hydration or maybe even like an oil enriched type of ingredient with it, and it's something that I might need to explore and see if it actually has that, because it did feel extraordinarily nice. I think the main thing that stands out for me with this lightener specifically is the versatility. You have a lot of versatility when it comes to mixing ratios, as well as the developer choice. And I do like that there is an option with how strong of a lightener this is, that you can use this on scalp with the extra additive. Not only would I recommend this for clients with dark hair, but this is definitely something I would add to my arsenal and love to play around with a little bit more. So let's go ahead and move on to the next lightener. Next up is GK Juvexen Lightening Powder, which retails for $19 for 17.6 ounce container. This is a fast acting blue-based bleach lightener that gives you up to 9 levels of lift, and it claims that the blue base bleach lightener is actually going to help neutralize a lot of warm tones. So I think this lightener is definitely formulated specifically for dark hair. Some key features and benefits is that it's dust free, it can provide you up to 9 levels of lift, prevents the loss of moisture from hair, it's infused with Juvexen, which is a keratin anti-aging protein blend optimized for restoring hair to a more youthful state, and it's formulated with pectin, which provides extra protection and ensures better moisture retention. So now let's go ahead and open this up. Now, something to note that I did not mention is that the instructions are a little confusing on the back here. It says that you can use it on scalp only if there's no cuts or abrasions, but then it has a huge caution that says do not apply this on the scalp at all. So I'm kind of a little confused. It says that it's only for off scalp techniques only. So I'm going to kind of take that a little seriously. I probably wouldn't recommend to use this at all on the scalp. And the way that you can mix this up is at a 1:2 mixing ratio, although it does give you a little bit of a variance, saying depending on the viscosity that you want. And for the timing, you can process this 30 to 45 minutes. So this is really claiming this is fast acting, a really strong lightener, off scalp only. So there's a little bit of lack of versatility with this one. And it's also in this bag, which is kind of interesting. I'm not really like one for a pore action, but let's go ahead and see how this goes. So it's a really fine powder, and I'm going to get 15 grams. Now, since this didn't come with a scooper and my videographers did say there was a little bit of dust with this, I just kind of didn't really see the dust, so I just kind of want to test it out for myself. Oh, now I see it. It's like a really fine powder. There we go. I don't know. It is kind of like a really fine dust, I will say that. Now, after watching the replay, there definitely was a little bit of dust kind of going on. So now I'm a little confused to what exactly the term dust-free actually means. So if anyone out there has an answer for what dust-free means, please let me know down below in the comments. So now I'm gonna go ahead and feel this up a little bit. This is like really small, grainy sand. And it's definitely like a fine particle type of bleach lightener. Not really smelling too much fragrance, but I usually like to wait till I mix up the developer with it. So let's go ahead and mix this up at a 1:2. Oh, I don't know if I'm supposed to shake that because that came out kind of liquidy. Let's hope that that's not what the issue was. This is definitely like a thinner developer. I know likey. This has like a very perfumey fragrance. It's kind of interesting. So far, I'm like not in love with the developer. I like really thick, rich, creamy type of developers, but let's go ahead and mix this up. If you haven't noticed yet, this is the first time I've ever used this bleach lightener. So this is a blind test with this one for sure. So far, I don't know. I'm not loving how this is feeling, and I'm getting the fragrance now. I'm getting like, this developer has a really unique fragrance. Very unique scent. And I don't know if this lightener needs a second to kind of warm up and thicken and richen up a little bit, but it's definitely like a little on the loose side. But let me set up for the swatch so we can get it on and see if it thickens up. All right, so let's go ahead and do the precision test. I don't know, it's kind of moving a little bit. It's not bad. It's not the worst, but it's definitely moving. And that just tells me that's probably going to move around a lot, especially if I'm like trying to get a very specific spot on the hair. But let's go ahead and get this on. It's such a weird consistency, a really weird viscosity. I can't even like put my finger on it. It's like, it's thin and it seems kind of easy to get on, but I feel like I'm not gonna like it just because I feel like it's just gonna move too much in my hand. Like if I'm putting on highlights on a foil and I got my hand underneath, I just feel like it's gonna move and I'm not gonna get like the precision that I'm looking for. I like for my bleach lightener to really stick, if that makes sense, and I just don't feel like it's sticking. However, it is really easy to move it through the hair and probably saturate really thick pieces of hair, and it pretty much got the other side pretty well. So I give it points for saturation. The other concerning part for me is the fact that you can process it 30 to 45 minutes, which I kind of don't like. I like the 60 minutes for me because it gives you a little bit of buying time, especially if you're doing like a full back-to-back highlight. It just doesn't give me the anxiety attack. I know that I have a little bit of a grace period, if you will, to take your time with foiling. I don't know, this is definitely giving like Sally's Beauty. I want to say it was like the Ion Bleach Lightener. It's like one of the more popular bleaches that everybody recommended, but I just really didn't like how it felt. That's what it's giving me. So let's go ahead and let this process. We're gonna give this the full time, which is the 45 minutes. Now that it's been 45 minutes, let's go ahead and take a feel for what's going on in this GK foil. So honestly, it's not too much swell factor, which is kind of nice. And as far as what's going on in the bowl, there is a little bit of swell action. It is puffing up a little bit and definitely collapsing. So it's giving that indication of a traditional like blue powder lightener where you are getting that swell factor. But nonetheless, as far as what's going on in the foil, that's the most important part. It's not terribly bad. Now that might change, you know, with the natural body heat and temperature, so that can be a variable, but let's go ahead and take a look inside of this foil. Okay, this one's kind of surprising me so far. This is surprising me. However, there is the blue factor here. Could be playing a little trick on my eye, but let's go ahead and wipe this off. Okay. I think we need to just wash this one off because this one's kind of blowing me away a little bit. The fact that it's only been 45 minutes and it's looking this light. I don't know. Let's wash it off. Now that GK lightener is done processing, we wash it out, and this is a phenomenal lift. This one kind of surprised me because I wasn't too hot on the viscosity. I wasn't really liking how it was feeling. There was just so much that I just kind of like didn't like about this, but the lift is blowing me away. I mean, the fact that we got this much lift from this level 2 swatch in 45 minutes is insane. It's almost kind of scary, but integrity wise, it's kind of okay. So let's go ahead and size this one up to the level finder and see exactly where this lies. So right off the bat, I'm going to this level 8 and I'm just not seeing it. This is a solid level 9 in 45 minutes. So if you're looking for this magic lightener that's going to take that level 1, level 2 client to a level 9 in 45 minutes, this might be it. But this is definitely something that I would proceed on the side of caution because, like I mentioned, this does feel not the best integrity. But I think with a hydration mask, or maybe you're doing like a bond additive or something along those lines to this lightener, this might be a really great option for you. And of course, if you can get past, you know, the viscosity, like the way it was feeling, I think this is a really great one. I mean, I'm really shocked by these results. The big negative for me with this lightener was the way that it was going on. I just felt like I probably would get a lot of bleeding with this one just because it moved so much in the foil. It almost was a little too thin for me, and I would have liked to have some versatility with the mixing ratio and the viscosity. I honestly don't know how to feel about GK lightener. Like I said, I just wasn't really loving it for the application and the mixing and all of that, but the results are kind of surprising. This is the second lightener on my channel to hit a solid level 9, and for that, it might be worth trying. Now let's move on to the next lightener. Next up is Evo Bottle Blonde that retails for $31.50 for a 17.6 ounce container. Now this bleach lightener is suitable for all types of bleach applications, and it can give you up to 9 levels of lift. Now this professional bleach lightener, along with the entire collection, is vegan, cruelty-free, gluten-free, and also formulated without petrochemicals. Now the entire mission of Bottle Blonde is that it's the ultimate tool for all lightening situations, while respecting the people and the planet. Now, some key features and benefits is that it does not swell, dry out, or bleed. It has a gray color that provides a clear visual of the hair during the processing time. It's formulated with kaolin, which creates a creamy consistency for easy and precise application. Its fragrance-free formulas help to minimize scalp irritation and sensitivity during the lightening process. Now, I'm really excited to give this lightener a go because I have never tried it before, so let's go ahead and open this up. Now, right off the bat, I'm really loving this container so far because right on top, it has a little pamphlet of all of the information of the different lighteners they actually have, which is clay, and then also their color remover, which is kind of cool. So it just has some like basic surface information on what the product actually is. So now let's go ahead and open this up. Yay, scooper. And I see this little baggie in here, which is cool. And I was expecting it to kind of have like that charcoal base to it. So this is going to be so fun to try. And it looks like there's another little... Okay, so this is the actual informational pamphlet, which is cool. And I like that it's like this, separated from the actual contents, because it gets kind of messy and stuff. Now, one of the things that makes Evo kind of unique is that you can purchase the refillable bags and then fill this container up. So that's kind of another way that they reduce their plastic waste for the environment, which is, again, kind of a unique angle in their company. So we're gonna go ahead and empty out this contents. So already this is looking really sandy, like the finest granule of sand. And we do have a little bit of puffy puff action going on here. And now while I can't really smell anything, I definitely can like feel the little particles in the air, but let's go ahead and get this in the bowl and mix it up. Now the way you mix this up is at a 1:2 mixing ratio, and there really wasn't too much of a variation in different mixing ratio options. However, you do have the option of using 6.5 volume all the way up to 40 vol. And because this is a bleach lightener that you can use on and off scalp, it does give you a lot of versatility when it comes to application methods. So let's go ahead and mix this up at a 1:2. This literally feels like sand, like from a sandbox. So there's 15 grams. It is kind of dusty. I'm gonna say that even though this is supposed to be dust-free, again, what does dust-free mean? And then let's go ahead and put our developer in. Oh wow, this one's definitely thick. This has like a pearlescent look to it. I definitely would opt in for like a squeezy bottle with this one. Now, like I mentioned, this really does feel like it's sand from a sandbox. Like it's or sand from the beach. And I do like that the developer is nice and thick, so let's go ahead and mix this up. There's been this really huge trend with charcoal lighteners, and they across the board have really surprised me in how well that they lift. So this one I'm really excited about. And as I mix this up, I'm getting a little bit of a fragrance. It's kind of like a mud fragrance. Definitely like mud. I really do like the viscosity so far when I'm mixing up. It's not too thin, it's not too thick. And it is starting to give me a little bit of fiber type feel right now. And it is thickening up as I mix this. Like, look how thick that is. So let's go ahead and do the brush test. So this is pretty nice. I like that I'm able to put this on my brush and it's not going anywhere. However, it does feel like almost like slightly too thick. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I do like a bleach lightener that has a little bit of versatility with the mixing ratio. It just makes it a little nicer. Now, that's not to say that you can't break the rules, but I do like that that could be an option on the directions. So let's go ahead and get this on. Ooh, I kind of liked how that felt. It's very smooth and like creamy. It is on the thicker side, so I would definitely say you have to use really thin sections with this. So you can see I'm like opening this foil up and it's giving me a little bit of resistance, but it is a really thick, like a mud, really. It feels like a mud-based type of bleach lightener. But I think the thing that I'm really intrigued about is the fact that it says it can process clear. So right now it is going on very pigmented. It's very thick. Like you can't even see the hair anymore because of how thick it is. But it'll be cool to see if it actually processes clear. Now here's the side that I just did, and it did saturate kind of almost all the way through. So that is kind of nice. So maybe it's just kind of like feeling a little tricky, but I really do like how this feels. It's like thick and creamy all at the same time. Like I just can't explain it in those descriptive words. Now, based on this precision that I've gotten from this bleach lightener, I definitely can see why they would probably say that it doesn't swell and it just doesn't move. So this is definitely giving me that kind of feel and vibe. So we're gonna go ahead and let this process. It doesn't say if you can use heat or not, but we always do room temperature, and the max time for this is 45 minutes. Now that this has been done processing, I'm super excited to take a peek at this, but first let's check out the swell factor. So what I'm feeling right here is a slight puffy puff action, not a lot, but still surprising nonetheless, because this did say that it doesn't swell. So I'm feeling a little something going on, so that might just be the foil reaction. And as far as what's going on inside of the bowl, not really too much swell factor. Now you can tell that the lightener has definitely kind of collapsed a little bit, but it's not puffing up in the bowl, which is amazing. It's holding its integrity for the most part. I think the thing that I'm really excited about is to see what's inside this foil, because it claims that it's going to be clear enough for us to see the actual lift. So let's check it out together. Oh wow, it turned white actually, like the bleach turned white, and it looks like a really great lift. Like this is just 45 minutes, which to me is a little intense because I like that there's a longer processing time. It gives me a little bit more wiggle room, a little bit more versatility, but this is pretty impressive. If you're a fast hairstylist and want to work really quickly, 45 minutes might be amazing for you. For me, it just is a little bit of a negative. Like I don't want it to work that fast. Like 60 minutes is kind of like the golden zone for me. But let's wipe this off. Like, this is looking pretty nice. I mean, let's go ahead and wash this off. Now that Evo is all done processing, I think we got a really amazing lift. This looks really light and bright, and the integrity feels so amazing. So let's go ahead and size this up to the level finder. So right off the bat, this is giving me level 8, which we know we all love, but I'm kind of seeing a little bit of 9s in there. So for that reason, I'm going to go with an 8.5 with the lift factor on this. It's kind of like a little bit more than a level 8, but not quite a 9. So pretty impressive considering we're going from this level 2 swatch to this level 8. It's just super light, and I just love that we got that because we can neutralize and then also enhance at the same time. I think the thing for me that I really loved about this lightener is the versatility. We can do on and off scalp. We have a lot of options when it comes to that. However, the timing just kind of made me a little nervous, although we did get a pretty high lift in a short amount of time. I just kind of like the idea of a little bit more wiggle room, so I know I can do some reapplication. And again, that doesn't mean we can't break the rules, but as a newbie never using this lightener before, I would like to have a little bit more time. The other thing that I really loved about this lightener is the viscosity. I feel like we could get a really great precision if you're trying to have a precise spot on where exactly you want to highlight. And even though there was a little bit of swell factor, it wasn't terrible that I feel like it would give me any bleeding or anything like that. I think this is a really great lightener for anybody that is working on really dark hair, like this level 2 going to this 8.5. And if you're a really fast hairstylist at foiling or even bleach retouches application, this can be a really great lightener for you. I'm really excited to maybe add this to my arsenal, play around with it a little bit more, see if I have a little bit more wiggle room. But considering how much integrity is here, I feel like I can definitely push this a little longer than the 45 minutes. So now let's go ahead and move on to the next lightener. Next up is Alter Ego Blonde Ego Ultra 9 lightener that retails for $36.30 for a 17.6 ounce container. Now this gray bleaching powder is going to give you lots of lift, lots of precision, and up to 9 levels of lift. Some key features and benefits is that it's dust free, perfect for extreme lightening techniques, It has a creamy texture to ensure high neutralization of unwanted tones during the lightening process, enriched with Pro Light system, which respects the hair structure for fast lightening, and it provides up to 5 levels of lift in 30 minutes and high performance lightening up to 9 levels in 60 minutes. Now, I have never used this lightener before, but it comes highly recommended, so I'm super excited to see what's inside, so let's go ahead and open it up. It's like a Christmas tin can, like you're trying to get to the popcorn. Okay, so we got this container. It's like a cardboard container, and it has like a metallic lining inside. And here is our charcoal lightener, so I'm super excited to try that. Scooper. I don't know, there's very tiny, tiny instructions on the back of the container. So I would assume that, again, if you need the actual directions, you can probably get it from their professional site or an educator. Oh, here's the instructions. It's on the bag. That's kind of like different and innovative. All right, so let's go ahead and empty out this contents. There really wasn't any dust with that. That's kind of crazy. I was expecting it to be a little dusty, and everything just kind of came out of the bag really easily. So that was really nice. This is the first lightener I have ever tested that has absolutely zero dust. Like, that's insane. Okay, I'm so excited to test this one out. This entire time I've been doing these bleach lightener tests, I've been questioning myself, like, what the heck does dust-free mean? And really, based on these results here, these brands have been gaslighting us to think that they're dust-free when they really are not. This is the only brand. Oligo. 10 out of 10. Good job. Now, the best way to mix this up is at a 1:2 mixing ratio, and this is going to be your mixing ratio that you would use for intense lightening. Now, if you're trying to do like medium or moderate lightening, they recommend that you do a 1:3 mixing ratio. So just remember that anytime you're doing an equal amount or less ratio of your developer inside of your bleach lightener, it's going to be a little bit more intense versus more developer. It's going to have a less intensity to it. Okay, so this feels also like sand, but true sand that's not dusty sand. It's like the sand in the morning, you know, and like the morning dew. If you're here on the West Coast, you know exactly what I mean. It feels pretty nice. Let's go ahead and get the developer in. Now, for this test, we do all of them at a 1:2 mixing ratio with 20 volume. Now, this container is a little interesting and different. Oh, it's creamy, but it's like a thin creamy. I like the squeezy action of it, but I also don't like the bag. So I don't know if that's like a recycling thing or whatever, but not super big fan, but I like the squeezy action. Okay, so let's go ahead and mix this up. So far, I'm really loving how this is feeling though. I have high hopes for this one just based on all the other charcoal lighteners that I've tested. Now I'm getting a little fragrance. I don't know, it smells like a very faint fragrance of mud, really. It's truly fragrance-free, which is nice. And I really like the viscosity so far of this one. It doesn't have that fibery type of feel. Well, it's kind of starting to get there as it's thickening up a little bit. But again, pretty thick. Let's go ahead and do the brush test. What do you think, guys? I'm saying that this is amazing. Like, this is pretty good. It's not moving anywhere. It's staying where it's supposed to be. It's going to give me really great precision, which actually this lightener promises. Again, I've never tried this lightener, so I'm literally doing this as a blind test. This is the first time I've ever tried it. So let's go ahead and swipe this on. This feels kind of creamy like the last lightener we just tested. It is a little on like the thicker side, but I feel like it's going through a little nicer than the last one. I think the only concern for me with this lightener is how it's processing and how will I know that it's done. If it does not change in color as it's processing, that's going to be the challenging part, is that learning curve of knowing when this is done processing. Because this does claim to be super fast acting, and based on how thick it is, I probably would stick with pretty thin sections if you're doing any type of foil work. but it is pretty creamy. Like it's going on pretty nicely here. And it almost got on both sides for this one. All right, so this is already giving me a little bit of lightening action as I am swiping this on. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this process for the full time. So remember, you have the option of doing 30 minutes and up to 60 minutes, depending on the amount of lift that you want, in addition to the developer choice. So you do have a little bit of versatility when it comes to that. So now we wait. Now that it's been 60 minutes, I can feel a little swelly swell action happening in the foil. It's not super alarming, but there is a little bit of swell factor nonetheless inside the foil. So let's take a look at what's going on in the bowl. You can definitely see this swelled up just a little bit. Again, not the worst that I've ever seen, but it is collapsing and kind of falling apart. You can see like the fibrous kind of action happening going on. But I'm not super alarmed with it. I feel like this is something that I could still work with. I don't feel like it's overwhelming. So let's go ahead and take a look inside of this foil. What I'm really looking for here is to see if we're able to see that true pigment, because this was a charcoal base. So just like the Evo, this kind of turned white. It kind of turned clear, so we can see exactly the end result. And this has been processing for 60 minutes. This looks like a pretty amazing result. I feel like all of the lighteners today have really surprised me. You can really see the difference between a pro lightener versus a consumer-based lightener. There's just such a huge difference in lift with this one. So I'm really excited to wash this out. It feels amazing. So let's go ahead and see the results. Now that Alter Ego is all done processing, holy cow, this looks like a phenomenal lift. But more so than that, what is blowing me away is how this is feeling. Like this feels like a baby's bottom. It is so freaking soft. I just cannot believe, like I wish you could feel this. It was so silky as we were washing it out, and it was so silky just blow drying it. And just to give you a little disclaimer, I used the most basic shampoo and slight conditioner possible. It is just so, I wish this was my hair. Like this just feels so amazingly nice. So let's go ahead and size this up to the level finder and see exactly where it lies. Now, immediately I went to the level 8 because that's what it's giving me, but it's also giving me a little bit of level 9s kind of happening. And I think the reason for that is because there is so much neutralization in this swatch. So even though it looks like an 8 and almost like a 9, it's kind of like a cool, warm level 8, 9, if that even makes any sense. So for that reason, I'm going to give this like an 8.75. It's like almost at a 9, which is so truly amazing. And the other thing that I really liked about this lightener is that we were able to process this up to 60 minutes, and it's feels this amazing. Like this just tells me that we can definitely push this a little bit more if needed, maybe do some reapplication. And I also loved that even though it was a charcoal base lightener that kind of covered it up initially, it actually turned clear, so I was able to see the true lift as it was done processing. The other thing that was so amazing about this is the fact that there was no dust in this bleach lightener, and the only one that gave us this much lift and no dust factor. Like that's so amazing. This is a really great lightener if you want to work on really dark hair. You need to take that level 1, level 2 to this level 8 in 60 minutes and have the wiggle room, have the integrity. I mean, there's so many great points about this lightener. This one truly blew me away as a first-time user, and knowing nothing about this brand, this is 100% something that I want to explore a little bit more and even try the other lighteners in the collection. Because this bleach lightener gave me such a great lift, such great integrity, I would 100% would add this to my arsenal. Now let's go ahead and see where all of these bleach lighteners size up on the Manelli scale. Now the lightener that scored the highest on the lift factor on the Manelli scale was GK Powder Lightener. This gave us a solid level 9, hence the reason why we gave it a 9 on the scale. It just wasn't really a lightener that I liked how it felt in the bowl and then just the application. And it just didn't feel like the best out of the entire bleaches that I tested today. So for that reason, it did score a 68 on the scale, but there were a lot of other amazing benefits to this lightener. So if this is something that you need that would be really aggressive and give you a high amount of lift in 45 minutes and you're really highly skilled as a hairstylist, this might be a great lightener for you to try. Now, the lightener that scored the highest in swell factor was Evo. It had minimal swell factor, so if you're looking for a lightener that's going to give you lots of precision and not going to bleed or really move in the foil, this might be a really great lightener for you. The one area where Evo really fell short was in the dust factor because there was a lot of dust as I was dispensing it into my bowl. I also didn't like how rushed the timing was because I was really limited with the 45 minutes that I was given. However, the integrity was pretty high as well. So I feel like if you're really experienced and can work really quickly, that might be a really great lightener for you. Now, the lightener that scored the highest in integrity was Alter Ego. The hair felt incredibly soft. It felt repaired, renewed, really shiny, and just felt amazing. It really blew me away, and for that I gave it a 10. Now, the area that Alter Ego really fell short was on the price because the price per ounce came out to $2.06. But this just goes to show that using a professional bleach lightener that has a little bit higher price tag, that's going to give you great lift, great integrity, great viscosity, and have amazing timing and a whole bunch of other amazing factors, it might be worth the price. Now, even though Alter Ego scored a 5 in price, it has now made its way to the #1 spot with a score of 88 because of how high it scored in all of the other categories. I was really impressed at the fact that we got level 8s and above with all of these lighteners, which we really haven't seen in some of my past bleach lightener videos. Sometimes we would see all level 7s and maybe just almost level 8s. So the fact that we even got a level 9 and some high 8s in this group is truly amazing and just goes to show how important using a professional bleach lightener, if you're a professional hairstylist in the salon, it can truly make a difference. So I really hoped you enjoyed this hair bleach video, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and if there's a bleach that I have not tested on this channel just yet, please drop it down below in the comments. Now, if you're a hairstylist looking to elevate your skills, you're going to want to check out Airbnb University. It's where confidence behind the chair starts right here. All you have to do to learn more about is head on over to airbnbuniversity.com. And for all of the ways to work with me, you can head on over to my site at mirellamanelli.com. And like always, you can find me on my other social channels like Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, all under Mirella Manelli. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.